Okay, now that we've learned why leaves change colors in the fall, we are going to start drawing a nice fall picture. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pencils. I've got my Sharpie so you can see what I'm doing. You guys get your pencil. Now, the first thing we're going to draw, since it's right up front in our picture, we are going to draw this piece of shrubbery, okay? So we're just going to be making some curved lines, kind of look like rainbow lines. We're going to make it pretty big. As you can see, it's about the size of my hand. So I'm going to start in the middle of my picture, and before we get started, just make sure your paper is going long, okay? Remember, this is tall, this is long, okay? Long, okay? So we'll start here in the middle, and I'm just going to make some curved rainbow lines. And they're pretty big. You can see it's about 3 fingers across for me. I'm going to make some curved rainbow lines from this side down to the bottom of my paper. So take a second and get this. Remember, it should be about as big as your hand. Okay, now that you've got your shrub here, we're going to start down here towards the bottom of our paper. Our ground line is going to be down here. We don't want our ground up here because then we won't have any room for our tree, okay? So we want our ground down here at the bottom. So I'm going to start right here on this second curved line up on my bush. And I'm going to make a curved rainbow line for my sky. Just right across my paper. Just a curved rainbow line. Okay, the next thing we need to add is our tree. Okay, so as you can see, our tree comes down here and it's sitting down within our ground, and you can see how the ground is going behind it. So I'm going to have to do a little erasing once I draw my tree, okay? So I'm going to start over here on the right side of my paper, and I'm going to start up towards a little bit above the middle, and I'm going to make a curved line that comes down below my ground line. Okay, make sure it's coming up towards the top of your paper and coming down below your ground line. Okay, now down here I'm going to make a little rainbow line. It's only going to be about maybe 2 fingers wide for me. And then from this line, I'm going to curve up, but not all the way up, okay? So see how this line is shorter than this one? Okay, so now that I've got my tree trunk drawn, I need to go back and I need to erase this line right here in my tree trunk. Now, I'm using a Sharpie, so for me to erase, I need my whiteout, but you guys can get your eraser in your bag and erase that line. Now make sure you don't erase the rest of our ground or our trunk. You're just erasing this little curved line that goes right through the middle of our tree trunk. And now it looks like the ground is behind our ground line is behind our tree. Makes our pictures look a little bit more 3D now. Okay, now to do the branches at the top, if you look at our example, see this line right here? It kind of looks like a check mark, doesn't it? Kind of like a letter V with one side that's bigger, which is pretty much just a check mark. So I'm going to start here on the left side, and I come down and in. Then I go up and over, and it looks like a check mark. Okay, now we need to add some leaves to our tree. Now, when you look at my tree, see how they're like little smiley faces. I got little smiley face curved lines that go from about the middle of my tree trunk over to the edge. And then they come and they get bigger and they go almost all the way to the very, very top and then over to the edge. So we can't see this part of my leaves. That's cut off. It's kind of like if you're looking through a camera, if you're trying to take a picture on your phone, you can't fit the whole thing in your picture. You have to cut off a little bit. So this one, we've just cut off a little bit of the leaves, but that's what makes it look interesting. So I'm going to start down here, about in the middle of my tree, and I'm just going to draw a couple smiley faces over to the edge. And then this side, I'm going to draw another smiley face going this way. And then I'm going to start curving them up and around. Remember, I want them to go almost to the very top of my picture. See how big my lines are getting? And they're going almost to the very top of my picture and then over to the edge. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is we're going to add this little shrub right here. Now this shrub, the way it's drawn, we've got our ground line, our little hill here. This shrub looks like it's over the hill. It's just sitting behind the hill, whereas this one is in front of it. This one is behind. So I'm going to start up here on this shrub, and again, I'm going to make some rainbow lines down to my ground line. So one rainbow line, two rainbow lines, three rainbow lines. Now I've got my shrub sitting behind my ground line. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to add in some of our leaves. You can see some of the leaves that are falling. Now, some of these leaves are pretty big, right? And some of them are really small. Now, when you're looking at something in real life, things that are really close to you look really big. Like, look at my hand right now. My hand looks so big, but when I move it farther away, it looks like it gets smaller. Now, did my hand change sizes? No. It's just when it's closer, it looks bigger. And when it's far away, it looks smaller. That's just something our eyes do, okay? So these leaves over here, we're going to draw them so they look big. And then some of our leaves, we're going to draw them so they look small. So these are close to us, like these would be falling right in front of us, and these would be falling kind of far away from us, okay? So to draw a leaf, watch how I do this. I'm going to start up here in the empty space, and I'm going to make a little curved line, like a sideways smiley face. Now, leaves have a couple parts. We've got the stem, that's what attaches to the branch of the tree, and then you actually got the leafy part, okay? So we want to leave a little bit of room up here at the top for our stem. So when I start drawing the rest of my leaf, I'm going to leave just a little bit up here for my stem. So now I'm going to draw two more curved lines. One's going to look like a rainbow line that goes this way, and one's going to look like another smiley face that goes this way. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do my rainbow line. And then we'll start in the exact same spot and do my other smiley face. And now I have a leaf. Now, another part of our leaf are these little lines that are called the veins. And that's what helps get the water and nutrients to and from the leaf to the tree. Okay, so I'm just going to draw some little lines coming off. And you can make them a little bit bigger. I don't like the way those look, so I'm going to make them. And you can always go back and change things if you don't like the way it looks. I like the way that looks a whole lot better. Remember, you turn mistakes into masterpieces. I didn't like the way it looked, so I just changed a little bit, and now it looks. Okay, so we've got our first leaf. Now we need to go back and add our second leaf. So this one, I'm going to curve going up. Okay, so it's going to be like a rainbow line. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I'm going to leave a little piece down here at the bottom. And I'm going to draw another rainbow line. And then I'm going to draw a smiley face line. And now I've got another leaf. And this one also needs some veins. And now we have two big leaves. We got two. So now we need to go back and we're going to add some smaller leaves. Now if you look at my example, you can see the smaller leaves. Are there any veins on these smaller leaves? Nope. This one here, you can't even see the stem. That one even have a stem. So we're just going to add a couple. We're going to add a couple here on the ground. We're going to add another one here under our tree, and then we're going to put a couple up in the tree. Okay? So we're going to start with this one down here. And I'm just going to draw a little curved line there. Just a little sideways smiley face. And then again, I do another sideways smiley and a sideways rainbow. Just making it little. That's just a little one. I'm going to put a couple down here in the ground. So again, I'm going to do rainbow line. Leave a little bit for the stem, do another rainbow line. And then I'm going to do a smiley face line. And I've got a leaf down here in the bottom. Okay, I'm going to add another one over here. Sideways rainbow line. Leave a little bit of room there for my stem. Another sideways rainbow. And then smiley face. Okay, we're going to put another leaf over here in this empty spot. So this one, I'm going to do a sideways smiley line. Leave a little room at the top for the stem and a rainbow line. And another smiley. Okay, now this leaf in here, we're just going to do that football shape, okay? Do that football shape, kind of like we did with our fish and the tail, you know, that little football shaped tail. So it's a smiley face and a rainbow put together. Just little. Okay, now up at the top, I'm going to do a rainbow line. Leave a little room at the bottom for the stem, do another rainbow line, and a smiley face. I'm going to add a couple more leaves. We'll come over here, and this one I'm going to do a sideways rainbow. Leave a little room at the bottom, and do a sideways smiley, and another sideways rainbow. And then one more down here. Little curved line, leave some room for the stem, and draw your two curved lines on either side. Okay, now the rest of the details we're going to go back and add with our markers. So we're done with our pencils, so you can go ahead and put your pencils up and get your markers and crayons ready. And we are going to be starting with yellow today. It's always best to start with yellow because that's our lightest color. So you always want to start with this one, that way you don't accidentally get the other colors mixed in with the tip of your yellow, because once your yellow tip, see how mine's kind of turning a little dark? It's because I use a Sharpie. And once it gets really, really black, then your yellow doesn't look yellow anymore. Okay, so we are going to do the 4 leaves in the tree, and this one we're going to do as yellow. Now, these are so tiny, you're probably just going to be able to put them in with your yellow marker, which is fine because they're little. If it's little, we can color it in with a marker, but like this part of the tree, the rest of the leafy part of the tree, we're definitely going to color with a crayon because that would waste all of our marker ink, and we don't want to waste our marker ink. So I'm just going to color those 5 leaves with my yellow, and then I am done with yellow. So once I'm done with yellow, I snap that cap and put that away. Now the next color I'm going to get is orange. Okay. Now orange, I'm going to start down here with these leaves. And again, these leaves are kind of little, so I'm just going to color those in with my marker because they're little. Now these leaves are pretty big, so we can color them in with a crayon. But the little leaves, we'll use a marker. Now, I'm also going to go around those curved lines that I did for the big leafy part of my tree. So I'm going to trace over my Sharpie lines. You trace over your pencil lines. And then, as you can see in my example, I added all of these little curved rainbow lines going around. And this gives my picture what we call texture. And texture is a fancy word for how something feels, okay? So we know that like a puppy is really soft. The bark of a tree is really scratchy. And trees, we want them to look fluffy. So these lines make our tree look fluffy. Fluffy and soft with all those leaves. Now, once I've added those little curved lines, I'm going to snap that cap, put my orange marker up, get my orange crayon, and I'm going to color all of this in. Now be careful and don't color over your little yellow leaves. And remember, when we're coloring, we color lightly, we color neatly, we stay in the lines, and we fill in the whole space so there's no white spots. Okay, now that my tree's colored in, I can put my orange crayon up, and then I'm going to go to red, get my red marker, and my last 3 leaves I'm going to do in red. Now this little one down here, since I'm just going to color it in with my red marker, but then this one I'm just going to go over my pencil lines because it's pretty big, and I can color that in with a crayon. So I'm going to go over the stem, the veins, and the outside of the leaf with my red marker. Outline it all, trace over my lines. When I'm done, I snap that cap, put my red marker up, get my red crayon, and then I'm going to color in my leaf. Color lightly, color neatly, stay in the lines, fill in everything, leaving no white spots. And then I'm done with red. So my red crayon can go up. Next color I'm going to get is brown. And the only thing to do brown is our tree trunk. So I'm going to outline my tree trunk. Now, in my example, you can see these little S lines. That's like the bark of, so I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to use the tip, okay? And I'm going to make these little curvy lines. And that's going to be like my bark. And this is going to add some texture to my tree because we know tree bark is very rough and scratchy. Okay? So once I do that, I can snap that cap, put my brown marker up. I can get my brown crayon, and I'm going to color in my tree trunk. Now, I want to color lightly because I don't want to color over all these cool lines I just drew. So I want to color lightly, color neatly, stay in the lines, fill in the whole space so there's no white spots. I was like, now you're going to see a little white spot here, and that's just because that's where I had to use the whiteout to cover up that line. So you can see how that looks a little bit different. That's because there's white out there. You guys were able to use an eraser because you were using a pencil, so you don't have that problem. But that's okay. Then once I'm done with my tree trunk, I put my brown crayon up, and now I'm going to move on to my green marker. Now, there are 3 things that are going to be green. My 2 shrubs and the ground. So I'm going to start by outlining around my shrubs. And then I'm going to do my ground line. Now I have to stop at my tree, pick up my marker, and go to the other side. Now, we've also got some texture lines in our shrubs. I've got these little curved lines to make them look fluffy. So I'm going to add some little rainbow lines to make my shrubs look fluffy, both of them. And they can go any which way, doesn't matter. But now for my grass, grass really isn't fluffy. It's kind of spiky, isn't it? So as you can see, I added these zigzag lines, which actually look like capital letter M's, don't they? I just drew some capital letter M's with my green marker. And that's going to make my grass look spiky. So then when I'm done, I snap that cap, get my green crayon, and now I've got to color all of this in. Again, color lightly, color neatly, stay in the lines, and fill it all in so there's no white spots. Make sure you color light, it's important, or else you're going to color over all of those extra lines we added to give our picture texture. We want to keep those because that's what makes our picture look so interesting and real, is that texture lines we added to make things look soft and fluffy, or like in our grass, they look kind of spiky. And when you color lightly, you can color quickly because you're not pressing down really hard. Color lightly, you can move your crayon really, really fast and color a lot in a short amount of time. So it's always better to color lightly. Okay. When I'm done with my green crayon, I put it back up, and the last color I need is blue. Now, I've got these lines in my picture. Now, these lines we only put for artistic reasons. Because can you actually see the wind blow? We don't actually see the wind. We see the leaves moving and know that the wind is blowing, but we don't really see the wind blowing. But sometimes in art, we can add lines like these because they're fun. So to do this line, I start by making a smiley face, and then I loop it into another smiley face. Watch. Smiley face, loop like a roller coaster, and there's another smiley face. Watch me again. Smiley face, loop like a roller coaster, another smiley face. I'm going to add one down here. Smiley face, loop like a roller coaster, smiley face. Then we'll do a little one down here. Smiley face, loop like a roller coaster, and smiley face. Okay. Now, probably not going to have time to color with our blue crayon because we are running out of time a little bit, but that's okay. You can leave it like this and it looks just fine, or if you have time later, you can use one of your crayons at your desk and you can color in your sky. But that's all the time we're going to have today, so make sure you snap that cap, put your marker back in your bag, and I hope you guys had fun. And until next time.